foxhole in, I guess, right?
Well,
or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole one.
This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. Hey guys, good evening. I'm Tom, W5KUB. Trying to get the levels right here. And you're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable tonight. Today is September 10th. And boy, time is flying, isn't it? If you're listening to us on shortwave tonight on International Shortwave Station WBCQ, on 5130, you can tune in to us if you've got internet connection. You can tune in to us and watch the show. It's a video, and you can join the chat room. Just go to w5kub.com, and you can join us there. And if you are out there on shortwave, hey, shoot us an email to tom@w5kub, and just give us a signal report, where you're located, and so forth. I fixed it. Thank you. I've got this great producer that tells me, tries to keep me on track here. I think I got the echo off. Anyway, great show tonight. We got Dave with us, we got Joe with us, and we got Ron with us, K5RPM with us from Jacksonville, Alabama. I saw a note in the chat room. Somebody said that Katie has abandoned us, and she really had. And let me just tell you what's going on. You know, Amateur Radio Roundtable we've got probably the best benefits package in the country. And we get, all of our employees, Dave and everybody, Katie, they get 30 days per year off that they can take, and personal days and holidays and so forth. Still got echo. Now I got the echo off. Thank you. So our benefits are 30 days paid leave per year, and we have this carryover. Our fiscal year goes to the end of July, and we've got 90 days. So anything you carry over, we got 90 days to kind of use up last year. So Katie's using up some of her personal time and some of her vacation. So I think she will be back with us next week there. So let's just jump out to our crew here tonight and see what's going on. Let me pull in Dave first, and I'm going to ask Dave when are you going to take your vacation?
Well, I've got one coming up in a week and a half. My wife and I will be traveling down to the Duke City Ham Fest in Albuquerque, and that's the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And we went there last year too, and they've talked me into giving a presentation, so I agreed, and they said, well, actually, we want you to do two. So I'm going to do one on SWR, and then I'm going to do another on sharing your knowledge on YouTube.
Well, that's cool.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, well, that's great. Now that's vacation time you get separate from the Amateur Radio Roundtable vacation, though. I mean, I've noticed you've got a couple of days left, and I don't know if you're going to be, taking it or not. Now, we're thinking about a policy where you can cash it in for real money. In fact, that might be better if you don't take your vacation. The new policy is going to be you'll be able to turn that in for your regular pay.
Yeah, well, my regular pay at $0 an hour stretches pretty far. So far, it's stretched over several years.
Yeah.
With no visible effect on it.
But we've given you several raises throughout the years, though. I mean, you got to admit that.
Well, percentage raises, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
5% raise on zero is zero.
I,
10% raise 1 year on zero was zero. So yeah, those raises keep adding up to zero.
yeah, well, we'll try to do better. Let's pull Joe in here now. Joe, I don't think we're paying Joe. I have to check the books. I think he's an intern. I think we got him free.
Well, I tell you what, Tom, I hit a monumental point of my work career. Actually, on Friday was my last full time work day. I'm over 65, and so I am retiring. I'm only active a day or two a week for work, and then on call only on those days. So today I took like 2 calls that actually were finishing up from ones that I had been working on. The parts came in, so I finished up fixing those printers and then installed a computer at a customer location and went home. So my workday started at noon and ended at 4. How's that?
Well, that's not too bad. I retired a few years ago, and let me tell you, I haven't looked back since then. I really like retirement. I think you guys are going to like it too.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things you'll see is the mess behind me is going to clean up a bit and do a little work on the shack and antennas and all sorts of things. We're going to get fixed up.
Yeah, I was going to say that behind you there, it could use a little bit of cleaning up, just a little organizing.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be
know,
fine.
Now, if that was my stuff,
say.
Kathy would be back here, and she would have that stuff so organized. I've got this parts closet. Boy, she had organized everything in boxes, and it's all labeled. But quite honestly, man, after over about a period of a year or so, it just gets all tangled back up again. You know how it is.
Yep. Anyways, so I will be attending a few more Hamfests and a few other events. And coming up, we might get started here. Coming up in about a week and a half is the Hamfest that celebrates the 100th anniversary of the Peoria, Illinois Amateur Radio Club. And PARC is doing it up big for the 2019 Superfest. And I will be there doing a group kit build. And so if you're ready, I'm going to...
let's just go ahead and jump into your segment. I think you had a kit and a couple of things you want to talk about. So let's just jump into that right now.
Let's see if that works. And, okay, can you see the picture all right?
I can. Looks good.
All right. Well, this looks like a quaint little village many years ago with wooden sidewalks and gravel streets and so forth. And this actually exists. This is a historic district in downtown Springfield, Illinois. The reason I'm showing you this is it's about an hour and 20 minutes away from Peoria, but well worth visiting if you want to learn about the history of Illinois' most famous resident, and that is Abraham Lincoln. Since I live in the city of Lincoln, I thought it'd be fun to learn about him. So 2 years ago, we got to visit the Abe Lincoln house in this neighborhood that has been fixed up to look exactly like it looked back then. So this is the Abraham Lincoln house in Springfield, and very popular tourist attraction, of course, and it's run by the National Park Service. And inside you'll get to see where he lived and so forth. They tell me that about half the furniture in there is actually from his, and the other are pieces that they found in antique places that matched what was in pictures of the place historically. So very, very well preserved. And so you can see what it looked like in Abe Lincoln's house. Now, of course, the railings that keep you from the table and stuff are added. That's to keep the tourists away from touching the historic artifacts in there. but it is open to the public and a very worthwhile tour to take. Lincoln's bedroom. And of course, why we really come to Peoria.
Hey,
And
hey,
that
is that, don't tell me, don't tell me, Lincoln's vintage gear.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln's old ham shack. This is from the flea market at the Peoria Superfest. It is outdoors and kind of in the area surrounding the buildings that house the ham fest. And a lot of interesting stuff shows up at these flea markets, and this one was no exception. The Ham Fest is actually 8 to 4 on Saturday and then 8 to 1 on Sunday. So it is a 2-day Ham Fest. And this year they are raffling off a Flex 6400M. But it's $10 a ticket, Tom, so I don't think I'll be buying 100 tickets.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'll get one or two. Got to be in a drawing for a Flex. The other thing is I will be doing a group kit build, and that will be a wall wart tamer. And there is in fact, I'll be talking about that kit shortly. There is a sign up on the webpage. There's an email address, and I think we're only limiting to 10 or 11 kit builders. So if you're not signed up and you're going to the Peoria Superfest, now is the time to sign up for the group kit build that I am teaching there. And the neat thing about this kit build is even a beginner can probably finish this kit in less than an hour, and we'll show you about it in a minute here. But like most flea markets, there's lots of good stuff. Some Collins gear.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting piece here. There's our ARL vice director in Lincoln bought one of these things, and I didn't even know what it was. And it is a AM and CW transmitter, and it's got a VFO and it's got a crystal plug-in, and it's just a separate AM and CW transmitter, and it looks very unique. And there was the VFO for it as well. It's a Harvey Wells, very hard to come by.
Wow.
This is what it looks like inside one of the two buildings. This is, I think, the youth hall. The other building is called the Opera House, and is full of commercial exhibits as well. Lots of exhibitors there. This guy comes from, I think, Wisconsin, and he makes portable and mobile antennas. I happen to have one of those, and it works quite well. Here's another view of the one of the two exhibit halls. And there's an area where they have kids that are working with robotics. And I don't know if I got some pictures of that. But here's some more shots of all the exhibitors. I took these on Sunday when it wasn't quite so crowded because I was really busy building kits and putting on a seminar on Saturday. One of the booths was selling these custom-made pens, and I'll show you how they make them. This guy actually makes them on a lathe right in front of you. Absolutely incredible. And that was something I'd never seen done before, somebody bringing a lathe to the Ham Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a interesting homebrew QRP transceiver, and I found this to be very interesting as well. Very well built into a Pelican case, so it's watertight, and all homebrew, and I think that is really outstanding. Digital displays and everything. So let's talk about the kit that we're going to be building in Peoria, and I think I'll be also doing the same kit in Kansas City in November. This is called the Wall Wart Tamer, and it comes from QRPkits.com. And he used to be out in California. Now he lives in Northwest Arkansas. So he's maybe an hour's drive from Branson. So he always brings his stuff to Branson for the Ozarkon QRP convention. If you look at this board, there aren't a hell of a lot of parts on it. And you look in the parts bags, not a lot of parts, which means this is absolutely ideal for a first-time kit builder or somebody who's had difficulty building in the past. This one is absolutely made to order for that. I have not run across too many kits that were much easier than this. Now, what does it do? It takes in, if you look here, I'll see if I get the mouse here. It takes in, it says power in AC or DC. Reason is there's a full wave bridge rectifier there on the upper left of the board. So you can feed it up to 24 volts AC or DC as the input, and you can vary it all the way down to 1.5 volts, very filtered and regulated DC on the output. So what do I use for a source power supply? Well, you can see this cord here coming off a power supply, and I've twisted the leads and tinned them so that they go into those screw terminals on the left. What's interesting is that because the input is a full wave bridge rectifier, it doesn't matter which way a DC input is connected. It can be connected either way and it works just fine. So we'll look at this power supply here. Now, where I've worked all the last almost 17 years, we work on a lot of computers and laptops, and people bring in lots and lots of old laptops that they want to just retrieve the data from and put it all in a new laptop. And so we end up with a lot of old laptop power supplies. And so I've been squirreling them away for a long time, and looks like I might end up with another box or two of them that they're sorting through now. And so I'm leaving a box there so that when they have old ones, they're going to just pile them in the box with the power cords. That way I've got more of these power supplies to bring to kit builds. Now you notice on the end of the wire there's a choke. That's a ferrite choke that they use to cut down the amount of RF that comes off of these things. So of course I take advantage of that and I cut the plug off the end, because the plug a lot of times is an oddball type of a plug that doesn't exist in ham radio stuff. And of course, because this is the input of this thing, we don't care. So I cut the plug off and you can see the two leads there ready to go. Now, when it's all done, this is what it looks like. Now, folks, this is the greatest, simplest kit to put together, and I'm going to show you why. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 resistors. There's a pot. There are 2 little capacitors, 3 real big capacitors, 2 terminal things, connectors. There's your bridge rectifier, and 2 LEDs, one that lights up to show that power is going in and one that lights up that shows that power is going out. And of course, an LM317T regulator. And all you do is you adjust that pot to determine what voltage comes out of this. And of course, that's labeled plus and minus because of course, DC out, you got to be careful as to which polarity. Putting this together, for an experienced builder, I would say maybe 15 minutes. For a beginning builder, maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. Not long at all. And you end up with a great, great item, because guess what you can do with this, Tom? You can use this to power other kits, because now you've taken that crummy, noisy laptop power supply and you've regulated it, filtered it, and now it's ready to produce whatever voltage you want. So that's what we're going to be building in Peoria. Absolutely one of the nicest kits around, and very practical, because the idea is to get a kit builder to build something that works, and guess what? They can use this kit to power future kits, Tom. So with that, I'm going to put my ugly face back on the video here, if I can. Okay, did that do it?
Yeah,
Am
you're
I
back.
back?
You're back. Yeah.
I'm back.
You're
Okay.
back.
So let's see here. Um, Anyways, I'm back, and as long as you can see me, I'm not seeing anything coming back. It's all frozen. So
Okay, we're seeing
uh,
you fine. So as long as that's working, everybody's seeing you, you know. Hey, great on that power supply. I've got probably 2 or 3 big boxes of those same power supplies. I probably have 100 of them. And you
yeah,
know,
they're
over the years, they
worth
kind of
to use.
varied in voltage. You know, the ones back, 15 years ago, of course, they weren't built like the ones today. So you kind of got a different variation of different voltages in there. But they make great little power supplies.
Yeah. Now, what a lot of people do with these is they'll take the pot off and then get a front panel version of the same pot. And then what they'll do is they'll build this. You see the 4 holes on the board. They'll build it into a box, and then they'll get one of those little 3-digit voltmeters that power themselves. And
Right.
now you can see what the voltage level is that's coming out, and have a front panel pot and maybe an on-off switch as well.
So what's
the neat thing
hey Joe?
about this
What's the
is,
current rating of that regulator? It's probably less than an
about
amp.
an
I'm
amp
guessing.
and a half.
How much is it?
About an amp and a half.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not going to be something that you're going to run something really heavy duty on, but
Yeah.
most kits will be able to work just fine.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good, man. And I need to build one of those. I got all kinds of projects, man.
Well, that's what we're going to be doing in Peoria, and I look forward to seeing everybody from Illinois in that area there. And I think Don, AE5DW, is going to be there, and K9CT, who is from Peoria, is going to be talking about the Pitcairn Island de-expedition that's coming up later in October. He's getting ready to fly down there. So lots of neat stuff going on at the Peoria Superfest 2019, which is on the, I'd have to look here on the calendar. It is the 21st and 22nd.
All right. Well, cool, man. We won't make it up here, but we'll see you at some Hamfest here in the near future.
You bet.
Joe, you're welcome to stick around with us or leave anytime you want to. But feel free to stay here and take part in the show. Okay.
You bet.
Okay, guys. Well, let's just take a quick break. We'll be right back. Heard it, worked it, logged it. It's time to get the transceiver that's best suited for your lifestyle. ICOM offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. Make the most out of contesting with one of these ICOMs today. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The ICOM 7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. It has 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual Digiselect, changing the way entry-level HF is designed. The IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. It has RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and an SD memory card slot. The IC7851 allows you to keep your competitive contesting edge with faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. ICOM's IC7851 is a pinnacle of HF perfection. It has dual receivers, digital IF filters, memory keyer, digital voice recorder, high-resolution spectrum waterfall, enhanced PC connectivity, and an SD memory card slot. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
Okay, guys, we are back, and we've got a special guest on here tonight. I was on 40 meters this week and making some contacts like we usually do, a lot of afternoons, and Ron, K5RPM, answered me, and a great, tremendous signal, loud signal. And he's using a helical wound magnetic loop, and we're going to talk about that. Hey, Ron, how you doing, man? Let me get you in here. There you
Hey,
go.
Tom, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little about this antenna. Now, you built this antenna based on some plans from what, K8NDS, I think. Is that right?
That's correct. Rich Fidzinski out in Arizona, K8, Kilo 8, November, Delta Sierra. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, you originally built the magnetic loop, and the reason I kind of got interested in it, first of all, I've never really thought a magnetic loop could work that good until I heard you. And then I started getting interested in it and studying it, and this is a unique design that you're using. This is not like a typical magnetic loop that has just a round copper pipe or aluminum pipe or something. This is much different. So, hey, first let's talk about why you went with with this loop antenna.
Well, when I was relicensed back in 2011, I was searching for a way to get on the air inside of an HOA, and I got on the high bands with a cheap wire antenna. It was a ground-mounted vertical, and I wanted to, gravitate to the lower band. So I started looking at different designs and ideas that were out there, and nothing really seemed to fit. And then one day I just came up upon Rich's article that he wrote. I believe it was on eham.net, and it was in the forums, and he was basically defending the idea of the helically loaded magnetic loop antenna that he had designed. And when I say he designed, magnetic loops have been around for years, but he had come up with a way to shorten the length of the actual tube or the resonator that you would need to loop. And the way he does that is with a 3-inch wide copper strip that's approximately 8 thousandths of an inch thick. And it's, if you have pictures that the viewers can see, you'll see how the copper strap is wrapped around a PVC substrate.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, let me stop you just for a second. Your audio is starting to get a little choppy. Hey, Dave, are you hearing him okay?
It's chopping a little bit. But,
yeah. Okay.
It's
so
understandable.
Yeah, it's just something here. It's an internet connection. So let's. I want to see if we can improve it a little bit. Maybe we reconnect, or maybe it just gets better.
Okay.
So you were just describing that this uses a foil, a copper type foil that's wrapped around this pipe.
That's correct.
And the interesting thing, first I didn't really think much about that, but after reading it and looking at it, and we're going to show some pictures in a minute of your loop there. The PVC pipe that they use is actually 2-inch PVC pipe. It's pretty good diameter, and I can see as you helically wind that copper strip around that pipe, you're actually getting a lot of copper on there. In fact, I'm reading where a 6-foot loop built out of in this fashion equals maybe a 15-foot loop, just because you got much more length of radiator in there.
Correct. Yep. It's helically wrapping that substrate or the copper strip around it shortens the length of the loop, makes it think it's bigger than it actually is.
Yeah. Let's show a picture here real quick of your loop to get some people excited about it. And here's a loop that you were talking to me on, I think yesterday, the day before. And
Yep.
man, you were loud. I mean, describe this loop for us. Tell us the diameter and kind of what the different pieces are there.
Well, as the viewers can see, it's pretty much the stop sign. It's octagon, and it's that way for strength. Now, some newer designs that Rich came up with, he actually used the bendable or the softer PVC for the sides. So it kind of looks more like a circle in the finished product. So, but this one is 6 foot diameter, and right now it's about 6 feet off the ground. So a magnetic loop has to be about 1 to 2 loop diameters from the ground for it to work properly.
Okay, and also my reading about this, the loop is directional, and I would have thought it would be directional broadside of the loop, but I'm reading where it's more directional off toward the edges of this in the same plane.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
go
way I
ahead.
describe it for people who want to know, well, how does it radiate? I say, think of how when you ride a bike through a puddle of water, how does it sling that water off of the wheel or the tire? That's exactly how it slings RF off. So, radiates. In the plane of the loop, like you said, there's a sharp knoll right in the center where the axle would be in that bicycle wheel scenario.
Okay. Or I tell you what, you're starting to get a little bit choppy again. Let's do this. This is going to be a really interesting segment. Let's do this, Ron. I'm going to hang up on you and I'm going to reconnect you to the show. Okay.
Okay.
All right. If I can figure out how to do this, let me think. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to call you right back.
Sounds good.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll mention that I've tested several loops, and they all have that same radiation pattern off the ends of the thing. And you can also mount them horizontally if you want omnidirectional.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. There he is. Let's see how it's looking now. All right. Are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've got you back in here now. Maybe the connection will be a little bit better. So that's pretty cool. That's what, about a 6 foot diameter, I think you said.
That's correct. 6 foot diameter.
And you're not rotating it yet, but I guess, do you have a plan? Are you planning on putting a rotor on it?
Yeah, eventually I will.
Okay.
Oh.
So how's it performing for you?
It works extremely well.
Yeah.
For what it is, it does turn a lot of heads, so to speak. I get a lot of compliments on the air, and when folks see on my QRZ page the loop deployed and sitting up in my last QT8s where I was with it when I designed it or when I built it, they really can't believe that that's what's transmitting and what they're hearing, but it is.
Yeah. So the more I look at these things, they're really, really simple. Now, I know Dave has mentioned, and I know Dave has tested a number of different loops from people. You can get loops built from coax loops to, I think MFJ loop is aluminum, but it's all heliarced. Everything is actually welded. Even the plates of the capacitor are supposed to be welded. Mm-hmm. And the impedance of this antenna, my understanding is it's something like milliohms. Do either one of you guys know what the real impedance is here we're looking at?
I could,
Martin tells me that, this thing is down in the milliohms, not 1 ohm, 2 ohms, but down in the milliohms, and of course you've got to match that. And a lot of loops, they use a little small loop to match with, and you could have done that on this one, but this particular design, he uses a gamma match.
Yes.
And I think it's at the top there, if I'm not mistaken. The top of the picture, maybe. No, I guess it's at the bottom. I can't tell where it is in that picture.
No, the gamma match is at the top. You're correct.
Yeah,
And the tuning capacitor is in the box, that NEMA
yeah,
box that's at the bottom.
yeah. So
So
the tuning is at the bottom, and it makes no difference. You can stand this upside down and right side up, and it's all the same. So, but yeah, in the
right,
box down there, you got your capacitor, and that is a very, very, even at low power levels, it's really high voltage that's on this thing, and so that's why that you and everybody are starting to use the vacuum variables in there.
correct.
I do see a lot of bills on the internet using the blade type capacitors, but the nice thing about this one is it can handle much higher currents or voltage, I guess. So
Yeah, you're correct
tell us
on
how
that.
you tune this right here.
Well, I built a bias T network, and the box in the center of the loop that you see, like stanchioned out about 3 feet away from the loop, it has the bias T network in it, and in the shack I send DC voltage out to the capacitor, and I can run it forwards and backwards and tune the loop that way. And I can also adjust the voltage here in the shack. So at maximum voltage, it's a 12 volts DC, and I can turn it back down to about 6 volts, and it moves slower, of course, in that when I'm fine tuning. But yeah, it works out really well. This is actually the second iteration of the tuning design. I'm using that. It's pronounced Siny. It's spelled TSINY. That's the motor manufacturer, and you can see in there it's a right angle design. It's a gear motor,
Hmm.
and I had a Delrin spacer there, a coupler. So you're right. There's a lot of high voltage on the capacitor. So I had the coupler made out of Delrin.
Did you, when
And
you first built it, did you try to tune it and experiment with it without the motor, or is that a given?
that was a given.
Yeah,
And
you
it
just don't want
was
to be
at,
very close to it, I
yes.
guess. Yeah.
Now I did have an arcing problem because I transmit low power in just back when the loop first got up and running. I transmit a low power.
All right,
And
Ron. Your audio is choppy again. It's definitely the internet connection. It's coming and going there. So
okay,
let's give it just a second here. We may connect one more time here just to see if we can clear it up. But I think you're coming through well enough that everybody is understanding. Now
very good.
the variable the variable capacitor here, the vacuum capacitor, is probably the most expensive piece on there, I guess. I mean, you might can round
Yes,
some copper up somewhere, but I mean, this one piece here cost you what, 120, $150?
this one cost 165,
Uh-huh.
and that was the MoneyGram to Ukraine. And I got from a ham over there who decommissions old Russian transmitting equipment, and he packed it up and sent it to me. And that's who Rich suggested to buy the capacitors from. He had dealt with them
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah, I've noticed. I don't know why Russia has such a good supply of these things, but that's just about where all these are coming from, Russia.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I have a smaller capacitor here, and you can see
Let's
this
see.
one.
Let me put your picture up. All right, I got you.
All right, so this one is a 5 to 100 picofarad. Bought it from the same ham in Dr. Alex Gallo. Call sign is UR4LL. And bought that from him. And it's going to be used in my small loop. So plan on building a 10 through 20 meter loop antenna, just like the big one, only smaller. So it'll be 39 inches across.
Okay. Now this one, are you able to do 75 meters, 80 meters with it?
Yes. Yep. It'll tune all the way down. In fact, it'll almost, I say almost grab 20 meters, but it'll tune up to 13.9 meters. And that's where it bottoms out. The cap, yeah, bottoms out.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it'll do, down to 78 or 75 and 8. So,
All right. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna try one more time. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect you.
Okay.
Stand by. All right, we should be connecting. Are you there, Ron?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're back. Okay. All right. So you sounded good that time.
Good.
Okay. So the capacitor is going to be the critical piece, I guess, to build this. You're going to have to you're going to have to find you a variable, vacuum variable somewhere if you really want to experiment with these, I would think.
Yes. They can build them out of the air variable capacitors, but they're only limited about 100 watts.
You know, and I saw some homemade capacitors, 2 Coca-Cola cans that were, the bottom was cut off and one can slid inside and out of the other one. And they made a capacitor with that. So, I mean, there are ways to make your own capacitor, but that seems like a lot of work there. So, hey, let me ask you a question. As I get more interested in the build of one of these, I know there's not much information on the gamma match as far as length, distance, how much, you know, what size, and that's kind of trial and error. But usually your 50 ohm match is on specific frequencies where you're resonant, and when you're not resonant, the impedance is just really high. So how do you go to that 50 ohm even with an antenna analyzer? How would you find that 50 ohm spot?
Well, you basically tune the loop you move the capacitor to the center of its range, and then you basically set for 50 ohms on the gamma match that way.
Okay.
And then, like, it does go out of tune a little bit. You know, the impedance changes as you get, you know, closer to 40 meter or the edges of the loop's ability, tunability. So up around 40 meters, it's probably, well, I can get it down to about 1.5 to 1 when I tune the loop. And down to 80 meters, it's a little bit more tricky because it's very high Q down below frequency that you go. And what happens is the bandwidth becomes so narrow that you actually watch the bar move around a little bit when you're transmitting. It really happens in 75 to 80 meters.
Okay, let's try an experiment here. I'm gonna bring another picture up or two. I want you to go down real quick and mute your camera or whatever that's called. Turn your camera off down at the bottom.
Okay.
Just let's do this. All right, now let's see what our audio looks like now. Now I've got you're still seeing what I've got up now. I've got a couple
Yes.
looks like spectrum displays up.
Correct.
You want to talk a little about
that's
these?
SDR, yeah, that I run with the SDR Play software-defined receiver.
Okay, the SDS, I thought I recognized as the SDR. Okay, that didn't help your audio any. It's just right on the edge of not being great. So we're going to continue.
Okay.
So what do you use this for? Do you use this to help you align or tune that thing?
Yes, I basically turn on an MFJ 212 matchmaker, and it injects, you know, a broadband noise on the coax or across the antenna. And where you see the dip there is where the loop is actually resonant. So wherever I'm operating at, I'll set the dip for, you know, at that frequency. And then my SWR I don't have to worry about.
Okay, so you'll actually tune the capacitor for the dip?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then this other one looks like it's got a peak or something. What is this?
That's the noise floor on 40 meters. And
Okay.
it's just where I took the photos and the screenshots. and that's where you see the loop is resonant at that center point where the darker shaded area is, and you can see the noise floor rise up and then fall away from. So I can move that hump across the band with the capacity.
Okay. So, you know, and Dave, you can jump in here any time because you've studied a lot more about this. But, you know, when I look at efficiencies here, and this does not mean it's this particular loop. This is just a general chart I got off the thing off the net about some particular loops. But if you start looking at this, the efficiency is like 0.6% when you get up to 40 meters. Now it becomes very efficient when you're on 10 meters and 12 meters and so forth. But we were on 40 meters the other day, so I don't know if the 0.6% means a lot. I know you were loud, and it puts out a signal.
I don't think that chart really accommodates this particular loop design that he's got there.
It probably doesn't. Yeah.
What he's doing here is it's a very high Q device, and the trick is that the radiation resistance of the loop is down under an ohm. So you have to make sure that the ohmic resistance is significantly less than the radiation resistance. And then you can tune into that radiation resistance, and that's why the big copper strap and all that, of course, the RF travels on the surface on those copper straps. And if you build these right, like MFJ's loop is just incredibly sturdy, and you almost have the same efficiency as a dipole. But the key thing is you've got to have that big capacitor in there, and you have to have ohmic resistance in the milliohms.
Yeah,
as
and that's
low as you can, so that it'll be below the radiation resistance.
And that's what Martin was talking about a while back when we discussed one of these, is that you're down in a milliohms, so it's so easy to have loss. And I think the tuning capacitor they use, the plates are welded in there, and all their aluminum is welded. Now, if you look at this one here that Ron is using, those are actually, Ron, are those 2.5 or 3 inch wide straps of copper?
It's 3 inches wide.
3 inches wide. So it's kind of deceiving there. But that strap is 3 inches wide and helically wrapped all the way around this thing. So there's a lot of copper surface area there for this signal, I guess, to ride on. So at the top, you can barely see the gamma match at the top. It's the little loop that's kind of hanging there. That's his gamma match he has there. Actually, this is not Ron's. This is off of the K8NDS page. But Ron's is a similar built from this. Isn't it? Ron, this is not yours, is it?
No, that's Rich's.
Yeah. Okay. And but yours is basically the same thing, and what you've got there. I asked about the little standoff in the center, and you told me that even the coax hanging straight down the center caused issues. So you got it standing out there. I guess that was all figured out during testing, right?
Yes, it keeps the coax away from the field of the capacitor, and that's what Rich suggested. So that's what I went with. And it seems to work very well. I've got 3 chokes on the top to keep any common mode currents off the shield from coming back into the shack. Now, Rich did some testing with it, and he was able to get 1,500 watts into it, but he got RF back in the shack because the loop being ground mounted is, the station is kind of in the near field of the antenna. But he backed it down to 1,000 watts and had no issues.
All right, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put the link to the HL magnetic loop antennas in here. People are asking HL magnetic loop antennas, plural.com. Did I get that right? HL magnetic loop antennas.com. That's it right here, guys. People are asking about a link to look at some of these, and this is the page, I guess, from K8NDS, who's doing a lot of research and design on these loops. In this picture here, the little box in the center on the standoff, you had mentioned that's a bias T. So you're running power out to drive your motor across your coax. I guess you could run a separate cable out to run the motor. Is there any reason that you went with the bias T?
Because of the first thing that you said there, I had a control wire going out to basically about 100 feet of speaker wire, and it was carrying the DC voltage out to the cap or the motor. So I just wanted to employ a cleaner way to get voltage out there. I did a little research and found out a bias T network would work for me.
Oh yeah. And back inside your NEMA box there's a capacitor, and you can see the large copper stripping you bring in, and you've kind of got it just folded back and hooked on each side of the capacitor there.
Correct. It's clamped down with the clamps that came with the capacitor.
So it's pretty sensitive as far as the build. It's a lot of experimentation in this thing. I know on the gamma match, where the gamma match fastens, he even recommends don't even use a hose clamp, that a hose clamp would greatly affect this. And I think he mentioned using some type of plastic clamp. Is that something you did?
Actually, I didn't. I used the old hunt and peck method, kind of like typing. I affixed or soldered down the gamma match, and then I would check it with the meter. After standing the antenna up, of course, like it's supposed to be mounted, and then pull it back down if it wasn't right, move it around. And it was about a 3 or 4 hour process. But yes, you're correct. Use the releasable tie wraps or zip ties that have the quick release mechanism on. So,
okay.
And that will help you out immensely.
Cool. Well, all right. Well, hey, thanks for sharing with us your build there. It works very well, and I know we've got people in the chat room interested. They're going out to the hlmagneticloopantennas.com and getting more information. And the neat thing about this build here, and it's a little bit different than the other builds, where I've seen people use, coax for the loops. They've used copper pipe for the loops. This actually is helically wound, which actually, I guess, loads the diameter of the support there. And even on this one, a 2-inch diameter pipe, that's pretty good sized pipe there. And it just adds a lot to it. And you guys read the article there, and it talks about how by doing this, you're able to shrink a big loop down much smaller and get the same efficiency. In other words, you could take a 15-foot loop, just a standard 15-foot loop made out of copper pipe, and you can shrink it down to 6 foot using this method right here, and get just about the same efficiency, about the same results with it. Well, okay. Anything else you want to mention, Ron, about the antenna, the build? Was it difficult for you?
It wasn't too bad.
You can go ahead and turn your camera. Turn your camera back on, if you will.
Oh, all right. No, the build wasn't hard. It was just intense. Well, not intense, but just it's a long duration. So it's not something you're going to whip out on a Saturday afternoon. It took probably 3 or 4 days of constructing to get it all set up. And then probably another day or two to get it on the air.
Well, physical space, a 6-foot antenna like that'll do 40 meters is not really large, but just looking at that thing, it is kind of large, actually. It's kind of, the big pipe it uses, and that's not a little 5-pound mount there you got. I imagine that stuff weighs some weight, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And there's actually a 2x2 spine, 8 foot long, inside the 2-inch PVC the mast, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's to give it rigidity and strength.
Yeah. Well, hey, we appreciate you sharing it with us, and I'll hear you check in our Tuesday night nets. I want to hear this thing work some more. I was really
Sure.
impressed with it. I was impressed with
Sure.
it this week.
And like I said, I'm going to build the smaller brother of it, 10 through 20 meter here pretty soon. And I'm going to document that on my new YouTube channel. So I'll be going through that, and hopefully some people will garner some information from it and try it out.
Well, a lot of these loops are people get them to put inside the house. They can't even put them out on a balcony because of restrictions. This one might be just a little large to put in a house, but you might could set it in there. But don't get near it, right?
Don't get near it. Yeah, it'll bite you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ron, thanks so much. I saw you join our Facebook group today.
Yes, I did.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I hope you, become a member of our group there and participate and keep us informed on how things go with that.
I sure will.
Dave, any last comments that you want to throw in here about loops?
Well, the magnetic loop antenna has been popular. I tested the one from MFJ. I've tested a couple from other builders, and I've seen this one on the internet before, and I have to say I'm really impressed with your build and everything there, and it sounds like it's working really well for you.
Thank you.
And you're starting a YouTube channel.
Yes, it's the Everyday Ham. So
Everyday Ham. I'll
Yeah.
have to look it up, and
All right.
maybe we can collaborate on something.
yeah, that you mentioned you were going to do some instructionals on starting YouTube and sharing documents or information on it. So I was like, ding, ding, that's what I'm going to be doing. So there's so many
Okay,
things I
great.
want to share out there.
And hey, Dave, have you noticed how nice and clean his audio sounds now?
Yeah, it's great now.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hey, Ron, we'll have you back on, and we're going to talk more about this antenna, and maybe I'll get brave enough to experiment. I may experiment with some loops. I may not build this particular one, but they seem so simple, man. They're really simple in design.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, and Dave, help me here. The thing about this is, you don't have to cut something 66 feet for 40 meters, or X number of feet for this or that. I mean, it's just random.
Well, the thing about this, the magnetic loop does not excite the electric field so much as it excites the magnetic field. And so that's a whole different ball game. You have these circular things instead of straight lines. And if you look at a dipole, the electric field radiates away from it linearly, but the magnetic field rotates around it in circles. And so this is just simply another way to excite that same field, and it's the magnetic equivalent of a dipole.
Yeah. Wow. I
That's a good way to put it.
really got interested in it. I've done a lot of studying in the last day or two. Ron, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Good.
Thanks
Sure.
for joining.
Anytime.
All right. And hey, you're welcome to stay on here with us, okay?
All right, I sure will.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Dave, what do you got going here? I know you got you a RigPi. I had a RigPi going here. I haven't used mine in a little while, but you got your RigPi there, and you are able to interface it and get it working. What kind of radio did you connect it with?
Well, I've got this thing connected to my Yaesu FTDX 3000, which is one of the modern radios that has a built-in sound card. And so the only connection that I need between the radio and the RigPi is a single USB connection.
Yep.
And that's it. And then I put a power connection in, the internet, and off it goes. I had no trouble getting it set up so that it would control the radio. I did have a little fun with the audio. I tried a bunch of things on my own, which was dumb. So I put some stuff up on the forum for it, and immediately a couple guys jumped to my assistance. One of them was Howard Nurse, who told me exactly what I needed to do and exactly what settings I needed to set, and lo and behold, the thing started to work. So the thing is, it's a very in order to be able to interface with every radio under the sun, it has to have options galore. It's got holes on every side that you can connect things through. So if you get one, plan on just spending, this is another thing like your loop antenna there. You're not going to put this together in an afternoon unless you just happen to stumble into the right settings. You're going to have to come back and study it real carefully. There's the main piece of software. I mean, this thing is built on a Raspberry Pi computer. And so it's got computer software in there, and you can actually log into the thing over the internet so that you can see the screen. And there's some auxiliary software that goes with it called Mumble, which handles the audio. And at first that name was appropriate, but then it started to stand up and speak. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty pleased. When I get the levels set right, I've still got to get the transmit level set right. When I get that set right, I'm going to do a video about this and talk all about it, and probably put particular emphasis on how friendly and helpful the people are who are on the forum that they have, and as they try and get this thing to work. I think what's going to happen long term is the instruction book is going to grow to handle more detail about the different pieces of software. And so at first I was frustrated, but then I did, I was frustrated because I tried to figure it out myself. That's why.
Yeah.
Once I asked for some help from the forum, we got to the end really quickly. So there's a lesson there.
Dave, I got mine working before there was a forum, and I had the same problem with you. The Mumble was, I guess just the word mumble, it confused me. And in Mumble, there's only just 2 or 3 things you basically have to set. I mean, it's not a real complicated thing, but it's like anything. It's like a 3 set combination lock. If you get any one of the 3 not in the right place, it's not going to work. So the Mumble, I think, is the biggest piece, but there's some great people in the forum, the help forum there, that will help you, and they're documenting all the radios now, all the different radios. And you got to remember too, this thing controls your radio, so you've got to set a few things up in your radio, like the baud rate, things like that, to make it match the Raspberry Pi there. But it works really well. Are you accessing it outside on the internet yet?
Not yet. Okay. Not yet. Just accessing it from my laptop over the network in the house. That will be the next step after I get that working, to do that. But I think after I get it working in-house here, there's enough information for a video about it. And I suspect MFJ would very much like me to get on with that video. They told me about this at Dayton, and I've had it for a few weeks, but now I will get that video out. Gosh, it seems like I've got a huge backlog. It's all sitting on a table in the other room of stuff people have sent me to review or try, or things like that. And I'm grateful for the attention, but I'm now doing 2 videos a week, plus the Saturday live stream that I do to answer questions, trying to get caught up on this thing. But the big thing I'm focusing on tomorrow, because tomorrow is the deadline, is getting my presentation ready for Duke City. I've done the one on SWR. It's going to be basically the same thing as my Ask Dave episode number 28, which was on SWR. But I'm up to Ask Dave number 219. So that was a long time ago that I did that video. So I had to look at it today, and I went, good grief. That was complicated. And then the other presentation will be on YouTube. And hey, if you want to tell me what to put in there, suggestions, Ron, go ahead, and I'll try and put that in there. The presentation will then be up on the Duke City Hamfest website for download after the presentation. Of course, I'll leave one key part out of the slides and then just talk about that at Duke City. So that's probably the way it's going to work. It's really simple once you figure it out, sort of like a RigPi. Once you figure it out, it's really simple.
Hey, the RigPi works very well once you figure it out, and you'll get there. Don't get discouraged. You know, you'll get there.
Yep.
You know, I want to talk a little about. Hey, Dave, let's talk a little about propagation for a minute. My son, he's having difficulty down in Austin, Texas, hearing stuff. Of course, we're trying to use a very stealth antenna, you know, a very small wire over the roof type thing. But I'm starting to hear stuff pretty good on 40 and 80, and I'm beginning to think now maybe his antenna has something to do with that. Hey, tonight on a 40-meter net, we had about 25 check-ins or so, and I may have mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but we had an Australian check into the net tonight from Australia on 40 meters. So, I mean, the band is working, and you know, a lot of people talk about the band is dead. There's nobody on there. And Dave, you probably take that 7600, 7300 and look at the band scope on 40 meters. You'll see almost no signals. It'll be just about nothing. But
it depends on the night. I was on, I think it was Saturday night on 40, and the band was full of signals. So
well, I think too, a lot of people think the bands are dead and they don't get on. And what I'm suggesting to people is call CQ. If you think the band's dead, call CQ. I bet you'll get an answer. And there's been some good signals, some good loud signals on 40. When the band looked dead, there'd be 3 or 4, you know, on there. But the propagation is getting better. The maximum usable frequency has been around 4 to 5 megahertz the past few weeks. I think today Chris said it got up to around 9 megahertz, so the maximum usable frequency is starting to climb a little bit.
Well, it goes up and down all the time. How far are you away from your son?
Well, he's in Austin, I'm in Memphis. I don't know, it's probably, I'm guessing it's 600 miles maybe.
600 miles. You might be able to do something with NVIS, 80 at night, 40 during the day. But that's kind of stretching it for NVIS.
Well, I talked to a lot of people through Texas on our nets down in Texas, scattered around the state there. So I don't think that's the issue. I think he has an issue of noise and not hearing very well. And again, it's probably the HOA restrictions we're trying to deal with. And but we're gonna get there. We'll figure it out. We'll try different configurations and so forth. He did call me when we were testing the other day. He did. I heard him call me, and he came in pretty loud and clear, but he didn't hear me at all. So. And hey, he's running 100 watts down here, and I was running 1,500 watts here. So he should have heard me, I think.
You might talk to him about magnetic loops.
Well, you know, and that's what's been on my mind a little bit here lately about what we're dealing with there and magnetic loops. So, you know, it's kind of playing together, you know. He's in a chat room tonight. He says things have been getting better day over day. We're just going to have to keep playing with it.
Well, there are things like VoACAP and so on that you can get on the internet that will take current propagation conditions and do path analyses for you. So you can see whether 40 or 80 or whatever. I think that's a little short for 20. it should be about right for 40, but 40 is getting to be a DX band now, as you saw with your Australia contact, and I've spoken with South Africa on 40. You did too when you tested out your BITX 40.
5-watt BITX 40.
Yeah, you did 5 watts to South Africa.
Actually,
on 40
it may have only been 2 watts. I hadn't even checked it yet. I hadn't even put it in a case yet. If you watch the video, that board was laying on my desk. The microphone was on a little 3-inch piece of wire, and I was having to hold the microphone and get right down next to the mic and talk into it.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I've come up with a better solution for the mic. I taped it to a pen.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to put a little push-to-talk button and everything on there.
I did that, in fact.
Yeah.
I taped the push-to-talk button right next to it.
Well, I have a bunch of old microphones, and I just took the element out of one and I put the little computer condenser mic inside the big microphone case. So that's kind of cheating, I guess.
Hey, the way Farhan has designed that, he wants it to be hacked. It was designed to be hacked.
Yeah.
I think there's a subtle sense of disappointment in the instructions with people who use it as is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
Hey, how does the audio sound now?
Sounded good.
Good. Okay. I apologize. I was actually on a different microphone.
Yeah.
Somehow it switched off the Blue Yeti that I was talking to you earlier on. Anyway, where the loop was, that first picture you showed of the loop, it's my first QTH where I put that up was actually outside of Austin in Leander, Texas. So your son probably knows exactly where that's at. And I used to use, in the same HOA, I used to use a 40-meter dipole that was 7 feet off the ground. And off the end of the antenna was pointed in the northeast direction. I was 40 over into Arkansas consistently and 20 to 30 over into Houston. I was getting that NVIS stuff going really well, and it worked really good, and it was just right over the fence height in that HOA. So 7 feet off the ground, a picket fence is 6 feet, so nobody ever saw it. Nobody said anything about it.
Well, we've got a person here in the chat room that checks in all the time with us. He's got a off-center fed running down the top of his fence. He's down in Texas, and it works fine for him down here. The problem is Chris doesn't have any trees, and he doesn't have any fence, and the lots are very small. And he just moved in, and I think I think there's some HOA police or something that have binoculars, and they kind of walk around all the time,
Yeah. Unfortunately that's the case sometimes, but you could always thread it up, put some rope in the center of it, and call it a dream catcher.
Yeah. Well,
I talked to one guy whose magnetic loop was an MFJ. He had set up, and hanging in the middle was a wooden birdhouse.
Yeah.
And he had all kinds of, I think, plants growing up over the thing. It was marvelously disguised.
Oh, wow.
You had to know what you were looking at to see that it was an antenna.
And the great thing about them is they don't look like the quote-unquote antenna that everybody think ham radio operators have. So,
right.
Well, and just to top that off, you could rotate the birdhouse too if you had to.
Yes, you could. As long as it's non-conductive.
I'm thinking maybe something like I don't even think this would be possible, but something like a flag, a disguised flagpole antenna would probably work pretty good down there. But we'll get it. We just got the stuff down here. I sent an MFJ auto tuner down there. It's got a very wide range of tuning, and so we're trying various lengths of wire over the roof, different configurations. So I think we'll get it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, let's see. Well, Joe's still in here. Is he Joe, you asleep?
Oh, no, not asleep.
Well, I see you there, man. You looked real, let me bring you in here. Wrong mouse. I got to get the right mouse here. Let me bring you in. There we go.
How many computer keyboards do you have in front of you there?
I've got a few. Let me bring in a different camera shot. Maybe you can So there we go. Okay, so this is kind of the command center right here. This one is for my Skype. This one here is for our chat room. This one runs Wirecast and all the selections and stuff on Wirecast. This one's on this one here is over on a computer over here that I can bring up websites and things like that. The phone lines, different various things. So you may say, well, why don't you put all this on a single KVA switch? Well, I kind of need to access stuff pretty quick, and I just don't think a KVA switch is going to be the right thing to do here. I might be able to do the keyboards like that. I surely wouldn't be able to do the mouses. So I could probably put the keyboards on a KVA switch and have one keyboard, and then my Mises, this one is Skype right here. And this one picks all the different camera shots, and this one right here is in the chat room, and Edcast that sends audio to our shortwave station, and this one over here is just for general pulling up web pages and stuff for the show. So that's what it's like.
Well, somewhere on YouTube, and this was just in the last few days, and unfortunately I didn't ask or I didn't take note of who the manufacturer was, but there's supposedly a keyboard and mouse combination that works on two PCs. And I'm just curious how they actually pull that off. If there's an AB button on the keyboard that makes it switch over to the
I don't know.
The second computer, or how it works.
I can get by. I can get by putting my keyboards on a KVA. What is it? KVM? KVA? What is it, Dave? KVM or KVA?
It's something like that. Good grief!
I
It's been
forget
years
now.
since I.
Yeah,
did that
I
sort of
retired.
stuff.
I retired 6 years ago. So I don't. Joe now he's just retiring. Joe, is it a KVM switch?
Yeah, it's a KVM.
Okay, that's what I thought. KVM. Okay, my memory's still here. KVM switch.
Keyboard and
So I could
mouse.
probably put my keyboards on a KVM because I don't use my Skype keyboard much or the Wirecast keyboard. I think I could do okay. I would leave the Mies. I guess that's plural for mouses. I'd leave the Mies.
That's what my granddad called them.
Yeah, I'd leave the Mies separate with 4 different Mises here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you really need to do is get a producer
I've got one. In fact, she
who
was
is
in
going
here.
to handle all that stuff for you.
She was
and
in
all
here.
you have to worry about is what you're going to say.
Well, there's a lot going on here, and she came in here 3 times a night. You got an echo, so see, I don't hear the echo. So she was listening, monitoring. Yeah, okay, I got an echo, so I thought I turned it off, but I didn't. I got it the second time. Or you need to turn, Dave's audio up or something like that. There's so much going on here. She could surely learn it, but there's so much going on here in switching from. And besides that, when I go over to guest on Skype, let me take the Skype mouse here. I'm going to go over to the Skype PC. So I don't know if you can see on the picture or not, but now I'm on the Skype PC over here. So if I move people around on here, you really can't see it, but I'm actually, that actually affects how it looks on the show. So, and then of course I have to select the Skype video over here versus my camera shots or whatever. So anyway, you're right. I do need to hire. Boy, even audio levels are things that need to be watched very closely, and it's. A lot of times I feel bad that maybe it seems like I'm not paying attention to who we're interviewing or talking to, only because I've got, 15 things going on right here that I'm trying to take care of at the same time, or troubleshoot a bug right in the middle of the show, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been trying to hire a teenager locally who is somewhat computer literate, who can help me with my channel. I had a good one in the spring, but he moved out of state. I haven't found another one. That's one of the disadvantages of full employment. Everybody's got a job already.
Yeah. And they make a whole lot more money, if they don't sign on with us.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I know. I can't pay $50 an hour for.
Well,
You know,
let me tell
someone
you,
with an
Dave.
IT
I
degree.
don't think I'm going to put out any more raises this year. So you're going to be frozen right where you are, probably until the new year.
I need a 10% raise. I
We
tell
may
you.
have one more raise coming up about November. Well, I tell you what. It may be a bonus. It won't be a monthly raise, but I'm thinking about giving everybody 25% of their salary just flat as their bonus.
Well, I can calculate that real quick in my head.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, guys, it's been fun tonight. What else? Anything else we want to talk about? It's 9:20. We'll get through just a little bit early tonight.
Just hope to see everybody in Peoria.
Or Duke City, Arizona.
All right.
I don't know what Duke City is exactly, because it's in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, yeah.
Albuquerque, New Mexico, not Arizona. I don't know, some state south of here.
Oh,
And
man.
One of these days I'll make it to that one.
So did they actually name
and
it?
by the way, on December 17th, I will be at KA6LMS, and once again, I'm going to be doing FT8, and we're going to do the Foxhound mode again, so we'll probably be about 4 kilohertz up, and we'll be doing Foxhound mode, so I can work as many as about 4 or so at the same time.
Sounds like fun.
Well,
Yep,
if you're there, if you
FT8.
get a chance, and let me throw this picture up. There we go. There's Tim. Hey, if you get a chance now, get Tim out in the alley back there behind his bus, and you got to drill him and see if there's anything new that we can announce on the show. Because here's me talking to him and asking him if we had permission to announce on the show that he got his ham license, and he didn't. At first, he didn't want to announce it. He's a very private guy, you know. He gives you one of these, you know. But I said, hey, Tim, it's out there in the public, and you know, people are going to find out. And he goes, oh, okay, yeah, it's okay. So see if you can find anything new, man. See if he, you know, he got his tech license. I doubt he's operated any, because if he got on the air, all the repeaters would shut down. So you know, who's he going to talk to?
Well, we'll see who I get to see. When I was there last, Jet Jurgensmeyer passed his technician while I was there, along with his dad. So we'll see what's new. And like I said, now don't forget, we're going to be near the solstice. So propagation on 40 should be really good across the country for me.
Well, we'll give it a try.
I know they tried to do 20, but because that time of year, 20 will probably be closing down sooner. So my guess is I'll be on 40.
Yeah, they were on 20 tonight. I didn't turn it on and try to listen to them. They usually get on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is not a great night for us because they do the live recording with the studio audience on Tuesdays there. So they get on HF sometime after that. That usually gets pretty close into our show here.
Yep.
So
anyways, that's when I'll be, is December 17th. So mark it on your calendars, and that's one night I won't be able to be on this show because I'll be out there.
Well, all right, guys, it is 9:23, that's the first time those two clocks have been synchronized. So I'm going to go ahead and cut in the show. I've got some small editing to do tonight. You know, we also put this show on a podcast, an audio-only podcast. So first of all, tonight I'll go in here and I'll strip off the first 30 minutes of music. You know, we play music for the first 30 minutes. So I'll strip that off for YouTube. And then after that happens, I'll download the audio only and then upload that to our podcast. We're carried on nearly every podcast carrier there is. You can find us, just search for Amateur Radio Roundtable, and you can listen to us driving across the country. Good night to everybody. Good night, Dave. Good night, Ron. Good night, Joe, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
73s from Lincoln, Nebraska.
All right.
73. We'll see you later.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any questions?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind.
the man.
Hey, Ron, stand by.
I've been
a
looking
second.
for this for weeks.
That's true.